Well, hello my dear watch-loving friends, and welcome to this triple yet single review of wooden watch you don't need. And today we're gonna have a look at 3 different vintages of one single beautiful Casio watch. Yes, I am talking about the DW-290, also known as the Mission Impossible watch. And here we have it in 3 different generations. The first one, a Japanese-made DW-290. It's this one. This is the real thing from the 1990s. This is an original Japanese-made Casio, whereas the other 2 are more recent models. I don't know exactly when this was made. This was made in China. It is much more recent, probably made around 2012, 2013, something like a 20-year span between this one and this one. Whereas this is an even more recent, and as you can see from the lettering on the case, a more recent one. It has been used much less. I think I bought this in 2021. I might be wrong, maybe 2020, but it's quite more recent. Now, of all the 3, at a glance, you can grasp that the Japanese 30-year-old model has lost a bit of clarity in the display. I hear that this is a common thing in many digital watches. I have pieces of the late 70s and mid 80s on which the digits on the display have not faded, but this one unfortunately appears to lack a bit of energy. Mind you that I changed the battery on the very same day to this watch here and this watch here, which are 20 years apart. But as you can see, this one, which is my king of beaters, the display is maybe more clear on this one, the 2013 model, than on the 2020 or 2021 model. To my eyes, this one looks a bit more crisp with more contrast, but this one, the most recent one, is still quite visible. Now we are going to see how these watches age, and you can see that I was lazy enough not to change the time on this one, even though it's daily saving time here in my part of Europe. And let's have a look at why I think that this watch is, well, it's kind of wrong to say that I think these watches are beautiful. I feel that these watches are beautiful, and this might be one of the common threads along my videos, along the ones especially dedicated to Casio. And in the meantime, while I chit chat, let me unbuckle the strap on this one. I was saying why I feel. It's more of a feeling related sensation, not I think. I feel that these are beautiful, and I feel that these are beautiful because of course there is a very strong bond with my childhood / early or mid-teens. I'm a kid of the 80s, so anytime I see this logo, my heart starts beating a bit faster. And we can have a chat in the comments about this feeling, if it's shared. If you are my age or younger or older, what does the name and the logo Casio mean to you? What images does it conjure up? This one, I was saying, is a Japanese-made Casio, as you can see from the writing on the back of the watch. I hope this is visible. It says Japan, water resistant. These watches have a fabulous water resistance of 200 meters without being G-Shocks. Now, I'm sure that there are many experts in the history of Casio watches who will know when this one was first issued. And this is known as the Mission Impossible watch because, well, in the first Mission Impossible movie, Tom Cruise wore it. Even though I think he was supposed to wear another model of Casio watch, maybe a G-Shock made for the occasion, but he used one of his personal watches. So the story goes. This one is Well, all original apart from the strap, which I bought. I bought this one used, and it came with a made in Japan strap, which was originally for some G-Shock, and I'll put some B-rolls if I manage to find that strap. Of course, I have it somewhere lying around in some drawer. You can see the signs of time on this watch, but this does not bother me at all. What bothers me is the display, and if anyone has some knowledge of where I can have this fixed, maybe send it here in Europe. I would be grateful to anyone who can help me. Let's put this aside and have a look at the more recent one. This might date around 2012 or 2013, so 20 years younger. And you can see that all the lettering, which I at the same time love and hate on the case, have disappeared. This one was used, I think, quite heavily, and I keep on using this very heavily when I'm working in the garden, when I'm chopping wood, when I'm cutting branches, or doing any kind of work. I use this one. I don't use my G-Shock, my main G-Shock, which I will review in a dedicated video. I tend to use this one. It's equally beautiful. I think it has its charm with the all black and not matte anymore case. The case of the original model, when it comes out of the box, is more of a dark gray color, and it's definitely matte, dull in appearance, whereas this, the passing of time has applied a kind of polishing factor to the watch, and you can see that this one is much more recent, and it was made in China, DW290. Still the 4 screws holding the same back plate. It was not a screw down plate to start with in the 90s, and it is not a screw down back now, just fastened by 4 screws here. The strap on this one is new as well, because I bought this watch for, I don't know, 15 euros, but just the watch. Still, I replaced it with the original strap, which is a nice strap. Some people are bothered by these, how should I call this, these concave portions of the strap. They don't bother me. On the contrary, I find them quite useful for the air to pass through, and they offer a bit more of elasticity. Let's have a look at the new one, which I wore very little, just to conserve it as intact as possible. Here you have it. You can see that the color is not shiny black, but it's more of a dark gray and matte. The nice green or / turquoise lettering still persists here. Electroluminescence illuminator, and once again electroluminescent backlight, just in case you haven't noticed. Big pushers with this kind of 1980s sci-fi, how should I call the base of the pushers. It has no function but an aesthetical one. I do love this watch. It reminds me of a robot from a Japanese manga or anime. A beautiful watch, and we will get into the functions soon, but let me unbuckle this. You can see that the back is almost as good as new. It has no scratches. Still made in China. Stainless steel back. Water resistant to 100 meters. Actually, it says 20 bar. This is a beautiful watch. I know that I keep repeating myself, but with Casio watches, this is actually one of my favorite Casios, and we'll get to the functions very soon. And who's up for a bit of measurements? Well, I am. So let's measure the case width and its widest point, which appears to be this one. This watch is a particular kind of, it's not a regular hexagon, but still, yeah, but trying to measuring exactly the widest point, it's 45.9. Let's measure the outer lug to lug, as I've been known to do, like this. So lug to lug is 49.9. Anything under 50 is good on my very tiny wrist. So if you have a wrist of 6.5 inches or 16.5 centimeters, then you're good to go with this watch. It'll look big, but you'll get used to it. Thickness, 14 mil. Now, for the sake of comparison, let's measure the Japanese made. Case at its widest, it's 46. Case at its widest is 46. Exact same. Let's see if the other measurements are the same, which is, of course, to be expected, but just for the sake of being sticklers. 49.9 is the outer lug to lug, exactly the same. And what about the thickness? I like a thick watch. 13.9, maybe I'm pushed. 410 mil thickness, exactly the same. I will write the weight somewhere on the screen, and you're gonna have to trust me on that one. I don't have the scale with me right now. So let's see something about the functions of this watch, and let's leave the Japanese in the back just for a minute. The only difference, I'm told, as far as I could tell, the only difference between the Japanese and the other two, the more recent ones, is that the calendar for this one goes up until the year 2029, whereas the other ones have been updated and now the years go up until the 2099. So let's have a look at the functions. And of course you have your home screen, which contains a lot of precious information. So this has your day of the week, Monday, your day of the month, and of course hours, minutes and seconds. If you set it at 24 hours as it is set now, it has the indication of the alarm if the alarm is on, of the signal that beeps at the passing of each hour if it is on. Now when you are in stopwatch mode, this tells you that you're using the split time function. And the light. Let me show you this function, which I really like. When you're in timekeeping mode, if you press the top right button, the B button for, I don't know, 2-3 seconds, this symbol will appear, and this is the backlight. So when your timer reaches 0 or when your alarm goes off, the watch will light up with the beautiful blue, green, turquoise light, which is typical of this and other Casio models with the illuminator feature. This is one of my favorite features, but let's have a look at all the other features and we'll get to the light later. So you have your home screen with everything that I've already showed you. And then you have your alarm, and you can set your alarm for one specific date, like, I don't know, the 6th of... So after a compulsory break due to the battery running out, the particular alarm with the options of setting the alarm for one particular month, like every day of one particular month, every 3rd or 10th or 12th of each month of the year, so to say, or just one specific date. This is a cool feature. If only this watch had multiple alarms, then you could use all of those fancy alarms. Then it would make a little more sense to have all those fancy alarms. A beautiful backlight that you can also set to blink intermittently when the alarm sounds or when the timer reaches 0. This very beautiful feature of having your local time displayed in the countdown timer mode, in the stopwatch mode. So here you can see it in the stopwatch mode. The different beep when going back to the home screen. Heard it? So this, in my opinion, is a love it or hate it watch. I personally am of the love it party. As we have said, this particular model is the original one, made in Japan in the Well, probably just the second half of the 1990s. The movie Mission Impossible, the first one came out in 1996, and I wasn't able to find the exact year this watch was first released, but you have mid or late 90s, made in Japan, of course, with all the lettering, all the mint colored lettering faded away. This one, which is a reissue, probably made around the early 2010s, and these both have replacement straps. Somebody say that these parts of the strap dig into the wrist. For me, this is not a problem. The buckle is a plastic buckle, but still it does look as a strong and sturdy plastic, and I've done a lot of working with tools and wood and stones and power tools, and the buckle is good as new with this particular watch. The color, I think that this black is the one that you get after wearing your watch for quite a while, whereas this lovely dark gray matte is the one the watch comes with from the factory. The pushers, I failed to mention that the pushers are really big and easy to operate. This is a plus for this watch. This is not a G-Shock, and so it doesn't have the feature of like inner protection of the module, and when it falls, since the strap can go all flat 180 degree, it can fall flat on the floor, but I think that this particular watch can take quite a beating. For dimension comparisons, here is the G-Shock Square, the most common one. This one is all dirty and used, and that's because I'm going to film a review of this particular piece, which is the watch that I have worn the most in the last 3 or maybe 4 years. See that the dimensions are quite similar. Maybe the DW290 is a bit bigger, but then its shape is kind of odd. I can pull it off with my 6.5 inch wrist. Made in China, this one. Made in Japan, the vintage one. And if you have any information or tips on where I could go to have this display fixed, maybe it's only the, how is it called, the polarizing screen that I can substitute, or maybe it would be the entire module, I don't know. This watch, in my opinion, is really beautiful, but once again, this kind of an aesthetic opinion is subject to the nostalgia factor, where this watch brings me back to my youth, and the logo itself makes me go back with my memory and with my heart to a time of my life where fantasy had a very important place without being polluted by, everyday chores, bills, deadlines, and things like that. And only watching at this thing on my wrist can bring me back, even if for a few seconds, to those carefree days. So here you have it, the DW-290. I have 3 of them, and you know what? I might be even so perverted to buy another one. But I'll let you know. This review was presented to you free of music because I followed the advice of a viewer. Tell me if you prefer it this way, without the music. To me, it's kind of easier to do a video without the music. But then again, some of you might be pleased by the musical factor here. If you have enjoyed this video, check out the other videos on my channel. I have a lot of videos about Casio watches, but also mechanical watches, but also analog watches, and the number of videos and growing. This is a watch that you don't need, but once again, if you don't own another watch, this could be a really good first and only piece. I haven't spoken about the battery life, which on this one is quite bad, if I can say. It's stated that it lasts 2 years, which is very little. I think it's a trade-off for wearing such a wonderful timepiece on your wrist. This has been it. I've spoken enough or even too much. I'll see you on the next of Wooden Watch You Don't Need. And you thought I had forgotten about the light. Japanese, 1993. More recent, 2013. More recent, even more. Let's see some light here. Oh. Now this is funny. On camera, this doesn't show, but the Japanese one has a different color of light than the Chinese made. Switching the lights off. They look very similar on camera, but the Japanese has definitely more of a blue light, whereas the Chinese has a more green hue. Let's watch the more recent one. Let's confront these two. So once again, 1993 and 2021. Made in China, made in Japan. Let's shut the lights. It's not visible on camera, but to the naked eye, the Japanese is definitely more blue. The other is more green. And have a look at this. It's 1, 2, 3. Fast forward. 10, 9, 8. Okay, switching the lights off. Yeah, that is the feature I like. And I'll see you on the next of Wooden Watch You Don't Need.